Good morning. What a beautiful morning. This morning when I rose, children, I didn't have no doubt. This morning when I got up out of my bed, I didn't have no doubt. I know the Lord will take care of me. I know the Lord will provide for me. I know the Lord will lead and guide me all the way, all the way. You have a blessed day. Hallelujah. Yes.
On behalf of the LA County Legislative Delegation and 10 million people that call LA County home, we have a simple message for current President of the United States. Stop. Just stop. Mr. President, stop violating the constitutional rights of the people of LA County. Mr. President, stop violating the due process rights of the people of LA County. Mr. President, stop provoking fear and violence in LA County. Be clear. There's no federal emergency in Los Angeles. Governor Newsom, Sheriff Luna, Mayor Bass, and LAPD Sheriff McDonald are fully capable of maintaining peace in LA County, and they are doing so. Mr. President, stand down the use of any federalized National Guard troops in LA County. LA County is not your political punching bag.
I am so inspired by the way that the entire world came together in support of President Ibrahim Traoré. I want to speak specifically to my brothers and sisters in the diaspora and in the African nation. African Americans are not your enemy. We are with you, we are proud of you, and we stand with you. We are to become one empire, one people. If you cross one of us, you cross all of us. One people. If you cross one of us, you cross all of us. And as for African Americans, it is not only time to be inspired, but it's time to start making a deal. I've said before, it is essential that we start thinking about our own survival, and that can only be done in our own republic. We need to become partners with these nations.
Let's get this thing to working. There's no reason to wait. The time is now to start. Because we all need a change. We don't like this at all. We want peace. We want joy. We want our children to grow up in a world of peace. Let them be children. They don't want to grow up in a world of violence. No, that's not a good life for anyone. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And that's just the way it is. I mean, come on, Caucasians. You have to accept the fact that over centuries ago, what y'all did to the black people, God ain't gonna let y'all keep doing that over and over and over and over and over and over. No. This is a spiritual war. This is a spiritual war of light and darkness. Are you light or are you dark? That's what it's all about. Are you on the right side or the wrong side? Because what you reap is what you sow. Have a great day. And for more education, get in contact with Gnostic 5 Senses Knowledge. Yeah. More information will be coming soon.
Paying these people, busting them in or doing whatever it takes to get them to a city near us so they can throw rocks, bottles, and burn top cars up, stuff like that. They're going to find out who they are. They'll find out who's behind it before it's all over with. They might take them a while, being it's mostly fueled by the Democrats. Now we're talking about the Democrats. Well, the Democrats, they're special. They're a special breed of idiots. And you know, if they don't get their way, they like a 2-year-old youngin', they like to throw a hissy fit, and until they get their way. You know, we see them all over the place, especially in some of these big cities, you know, and they don't understand who they hurt when they out there riding and throwing rocks, taking mortar shells. Now, mortar shell ain't nothing to play with there. You know, it comes with a tube, and you can load that thing up, and them fireworks that you see at the ball game over here, them things that go way up in the air, they mortar shells. That's what they amount to. They just gunpowder, but there's no lead in them. But when you standing down the street and you shooting them at the military or the police officers or the National Guard, well, you know, they have the hide and all this stuff. Them people do not care about what they do. They don't have, you know, they're okay with it. Dropping a rock off a bridge into somebody's windshield is okay. They don't care. You know, and look, California. I think we bought California way back in the day, you know. And so it belongs to the United States because Mexico sold it. Now, you know, being said that,
I believe y'all stole it. I believe the white people stole everything in America.
Illegal anything. We don't owe them nothing. Now, here's a fact. This is just a plain fact right here. If you come into this country and you know you are illegal, you know it. If you come in, you know. Alright? You know that we are a country of laws. You already know that. You're not that ignorant that you don't know that. But you come in here and you've been here 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years and you hadn't took care of your paperwork, then that's on you. You're the ignorant one. Because if I have to pay the price to go to court for something that I've done, what makes you exempt? When you broke the law, when you first came in, you did what I can't do because they called me into court and locked me up because I'm an American citizen. But all these illegal people from Mexico and Venezuela and all these other places out there, other countries that come in, they let them go. If they show up for court, they just let them go.
Well, see, this is God's justice. Y'all came over here and stole everything. You know what you done, right? So now it's time to pay. So God is getting ready to get his justice for what you done to his people. That's what that's about, dummy.
They need to make a big change. Everybody that they giving food stamps to that's on the illegal side, and the social services know who everybody is because they passing out checks over there like the popcorn at the movie theater. You know, because they everywhere. You know, they got them special red EMT cards or blue ones, whatever color they are now, and they just go right in. You know, and but I can't get none of that stuff because I'm a property owner. You know, if I can't pay my taxes this year, I'll lose my property.
Then you stole it.
And so we've been treated so wrong, it's unreal.
You a damn liar.
Somebody who's
You stole every goddamn thing in America.
Legally doesn't pay
It's
their
God's
taxes, they lose their
justice.
property too. I mean, they treat you the same.
Well, for the first thing, if they hear illegally, they shouldn't be able to buy no property.
You over here
They'll be able to
illegally.
buy.
I understand that.
You killed all our people.
I understand. Listen, I
You
understand.
killed all of them.
But all things being equal, you know,
It ain't
everything's not equal, but all things being equal,
It's not
they
equal.
are treated the same under the law as you are.
Well, they
You ain't gotta be.
I'm just saying, that's my opinion.
Sure.
If they come up here illegal They shouldn't be able to buy no dirt that don't belong to them. They should.
See, I think that would be a fair. That would be a very fair way to deal with this. We don't do it that way. But if you're here illegally, you should not be able to buy property.
Well, y'all need to go back to Europe then.
Or a vehicle.
That's a vehicle.
You should have to rent one.
But I mean, that's property.
You should have to rent it.
Yeah.
But if you go to some of these other countries, you can't take your own car into.
Well, in some other countries, you're not.
Y'all think y'all can just go anywhere and take any goddamn thing? God gonna tear y'all goddamn asses up.
Buying land because you're not from there. So, there are rules and regulations all across the country.
Well, they are. But now listen, let me just say one more thing, and I probably won't talk to you tomorrow because I'll be riding up the road headed for the big rally in Washington, D.C. I'm going to love it. We already decided, me and my partner is going up there with me, we're going to have a blast because we're going to enjoy having a good time up there because we know there's going to be a lot of Trump supporters up there. And we also know there's going to be a lot of haters up there. There's going to be a lot of protesters up there. But we're not going to let somebody dictate to us what we can do and what we can't do as American citizens. That's just the way it is. Now, I'll just offer you one more time, Harry. We got an extra seat in the car. And you can ride in the back.
Appreciate it. I want you, when you go up there, I want you to behave yourself now. Don't you be
well, I'm going to carry, I'm going to take my American flag and my flagpole. It's going with me.
Sounds good to me.
We're going to have a Trump flag.
Right.
And being from the South, they ain't no telling what else will happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks. You take care. 222-9224. We were talking about California. I looked this up while we were talking. California became part of the United States. I think that is a trivia question. What year did California become part of the United States? All of California. 1848. All right. 222-9224.
Carolina. And I said, I'd like to know something. I said, what do you estimate that your your sales tax percentages from people from out of town? Now, this is, Myrtle Beach is, that's one of the biggest vacation areas on the East Coast. I mean, it's full of tourists. I'll tell you some more that'll make you know this is unbelievable. 73rd, Kevin. 73rd. Now, Alamance County tell us that ours is 65, 35. And we ain't got Myrtle Beach here. It's a joke. I mean, who are you trying to fool? Yeah, let me just say this, Harry. Their tax rate in Myrtle Beach is 51 cents. Ours is about 47. Why do they keep saying we got the lowest tax rates in the county and the city and the state and the world? I mean, Wake County's 51 cents. This is after the revals. They just had a reval in Myrtle Beach last year. So I mean, they keep pushing this. Oh, we got the lowest tax rate. That's the reason people come here. No, they don't. They come here because of cheap labor. That's why they come here. That's the biggest expense they got in the business. Is they can come here and pay $15, $20 an hour, which is not going to support the tax services, you need to take on all these people. So we just keep letting them come in. And warehouse after warehouse after warehouse. Now, the thing that was funny was, I said, what percentage of your budget goes toward education? You know what she said? None. I said, what do you mean, none? She said, well, our education system has its own taxing authority. Now listen to this one here. So I said, well, what does the school system charge as the tax rate? $1. $1. And I said, man, I bet you people down there don't like that. He says, well, no. She said the people who have permanent residences in Myrtle Beach, in Horry County, don't pay any education tax. We get all our education tax from people who own secondary homes and businesses like hotels and stuff. So if you live in Horry County, you pay 51 cents. You don't pay any of that money. Your educational system is supported solely on tourism and the people who have secondary homes.
You mean if you have you're telling me that you have a primary home that you live in?
You live in Myrtle Beach all the time. You have your primary residence, okay? You don't pay any of that education tax.
How do they come up with that? I don't.
Well, they're passing along. So they say that people who have secondary homes, and then of course the tourism on top of that, they get enough money from them to support the education system.
That doesn't sound quite right to me, you know.
It does to me. Yeah. I mean, if you got a secondary home, then you can afford a vacation home, okay? So why would you know, the people who live there all the time, you know, they are already being taxed 51 cents, which is what we get taxed basically here. It covers our education system too.
So the taxing authority in Horry County does not tax, when they do that dollar, they don't tax the people who actually live there all the time, only the people that have secondary homes.
Only people who have secondary homes and
Wow.
Yeah.
I find that unfair.
That's good. Well, I mean, if you got the money to buy a secondary home, you know, because
I don't think it has anything to do with money. I'm talking about whether it's fair or not. It has anything to do with it. Well, that just is unfair. That's not fair. The kids that are going to school there are the ones that not by the vacationers. They're the people that the moms and dads that own the houses, and they're not paying for the school system. Don't tell me that you think that's fair. That's not fair.
Yeah, but you're paying a 51-cent property tax, which in most counties would cover the education.
Yeah, but none of that goes to the education, so
No,
I'm sorry, I just don't think that's fair. All right.
I think they have enough tourism money coming in, so this is not something people pay all of it. You know, only the secondary homes, but I mean, look at all the tourism money they get in. And, you know, I mean, it's just ungodly amount of money. Unbelievable amount of money. And, you know, but to say that Alamance County is 65-35, I mean, how many people say, we don't even have hardly any, we don't have nothing here. I mean, you know, so we got all these people driving in to vacation in Alamance County.
No, they drive through and buy gas and stay at the motel sometimes. That's what they're talking about.
Sometimes. And look at the motels. I mean, you know, we don't have resorts in Alamance County. You know, we don't have $500 a night condos. We don't have that. I mean, I don't know how you come up with that number. Mm-hmm. It's just totally absurd. So then,
I know how they come up with it. They just guessed. They wanted a number to be that would make it look good, so they guessed a number. It was just a guess.
They guessed a number to try to get the tax to make the taxpayers pay.
Bingo.
And that's totally misleading. I mean, that's totally misleading. You know, if you look at a resort area in Alamance County, it's like the Buc-ee's. All they talk about Buc-ee's going to change it. Buc-ee's actually is going to save Alamance County. I mean, this is going to be so much money. This is the whole answer to, you know, man, this is the world coming down Alamance County. You talk about it every time the county fish for me. Buc-ee's. So I look at Buc-ee's, the corporation, and where they got locations and stuff. Well, they got a Buc-ee's in Raleigh, you know. But here's the thing, the average time this person spends, and this Buc-ee's keeps up with all this, spends at Buc-ee's is about 23 to 27 minutes, okay? But the average time from the time you try to get off the interstate and get in one of those places is up to an hour because of the traffic. And then you gotta wait to get to gas pump if you're gonna get gas.
And then you got all these people inside you got to wait to check out. And the average expenditure at a Buc-ee's is about $53. You know, that could be gas, that could be, you know, some inside, whatever. It's not, and then plus you got to look at the fact of what you're pulling away from your already existing business. You know, I mean, if they buy gas there, they're not buying gas on down the road at the next gas station. You know, so I mean, you know, we got to quit looking at stuff like this. I do know what the average Buc-ee's cost to build is $100 million, and the average land is about $10 million, which in Alamance County they pay 12.8. So let's see when old Buc-ee's comes up what the tax pay. Yeah, we'll see. All right. Appreciate it. All right, thank you. Take care. 2229224.
To the last election, I expressed the concern that if Donald Trump won the election, that there could be extreme violence, and thankfully that did not take place. However, when it comes to evil, you know, evil never rests. It's never too late for the evil forces of hell to appear. And I say this morning for one reason. Rest assured that many of those that are rioting in these places like California and New York, they really could care less about the illegal immigration situation. This is a golden opportunity for them to show their anger and show their behinds because of the election results. And they find this just happens to be the perfect time. They would never say that now because, you know, they're sneaky in the way they behave. And they always have some kind of motive in doing what they do. And they can not only become violent, but then they can point to Trump, of course, and say, well, he's the reason why all this is happening. This is the way these barbarians operate.
Y'all the damn barbarians.
There's a price to be paid.
Y'all came from the damn woods
doesn't repent.
and stole our life.
Reacting, you know, reaching the other side of eternity, at which time there will be no defense. But there's also a monetary price to be paid, and are we paying it? $134 million, by the way, that's conservative. That's a conservative estimate. $134 million to be paid out because of just Los Angeles. What are you talking about, Jim Hoggs? Extra law enforcement personnel, National Guard, Marines, and then we wonder why the national debt continues to increase.
Because of that goddamn president you got, that racist.
I'm going to switch a moment this morning, the remainder of my time, to Medicaid, because I'm getting just a little bit tired of hearing Trump's going to cut Medicaid. Trump's going to cut Medicaid. Once again, that's a blanket statement. It's an example of what I've spoken of earlier this week, engaging in deceitful behavior where you intentionally omit the total truth. And as Harry Myers has told us on this program time and time again, when you know the truth and you intentionally leave it out, you know, you're lying. Now, before I continue, let me...
What y'all do about Jesus and join European State Union shit?
Medicaid. This causes fear to come in their lives. And this is another sin that's being committed by the Trump hater. And it also becomes a cruel hoax. They'll be ashamed of themselves, but God's word clearly states that in the last days they'll have no shame. So let's go to the truth about this subject, Medicaid. First, let us understand what President Trump understands. Medicaid was created to provide medical benefits to the less fortunate ones amidst us, those in poverty, very little income. And I want to tell you folks this morning, I can afford to speak of this truth because I have witnessed it firsthand. Once upon a time, I had a close relative who was on Medicaid, and due to a severe medical problem, she was not able to work. That individual was my mother. So you see, in this big, beautiful bill, which has been passed by the House, are there any cuts in Medicaid included? Well, I want to phrase it this way. You can bet your sweet britches there's some cuts there, and they're fully justifiable. I don't have time to cover all the details this morning. I just want to provide some examples or whatever. I want to tell you, since I operate a worldwide ministry that focuses on the Christian work ethic, that's spelled W-O-R-K, I'm especially interested in anything in that bill that's related to work. The legislation would increase personal accountability primarily by mandating new community engagement requirements for Medicaid recipients to log at least 80 hours per month of work, community service, or work program, or be enrolled in an educational program for at least 40 hours per month, representing the largest Medicaid-related cuts in the mega bill. That's as it should be. God put us here on this earth to work and not loaf off of Medicaid or welfare or any of that other stuff, because taking money from the taxpayers reveals another sin, and it's called stealing. Therefore, if the bill passes, it implements critical program integrity and cost containment provisions in Medicaid to strengthen it for future generations. Otherwise, we're going to end up, you're not going to have any money for anybody for Medicaid. And this includes removing deceased individuals from the program, for God's sake, and limiting retroactive coverage from these months to 1 month prior to enrollment. And if these corrections are not made, then again, we can reach a time where there'll be no more money. In addition, Medicaid reimbursements will be cut to organizations that provide abortion services. What are they? There shouldn't be any surprise. How about Planned Parenthood? You see, this measure aligns with defending life and a commitment to protect the unborn and uphold the sanctity of life. That should tell you something about Donald Trump as related to abortion. And it ain't the fact that he paid for an abortion. It's about eliminating this crap from Medicaid. Federal spending that's with waste and fraud and abuse is costing taxpayers billions. This Dr. Oz says that Medicaid is a glaring example where crucial care is being siphoned away from the Americans who need it most. He says there's about $14 billion that we've identified with DOJ of folks that are duly enrolled wrongly in multiple states for Medicaid. He says if you live in New Jersey, but you move to Pennsylvania, and which state gets you Medicaid? He says it turns out that both states collect money from the federal government. I conclude with this statement. Donald Trump doesn't care about the poor. He gonna cut your Medicaid. And so you see the lie. Have lied. Have a wonderful day, Mr. Harry. Thanks for that definition. God bless you.
2229224. It's not, and you've been right all along. That's not what's going on here. They're not trying to fund the economy with the tariffs. They're trying to get fair treatment from other people and get the export-import going in the right direction.
Okay, well, I'll come back to that another day. But for what I'm going to do today, I've heard about an hour of talk Ryan in the last 3 days. But some things I do want to point out. The guy that was talking about, since everybody's so concerned about riots, but they weren't concerned about, the same people that are so concerned about riots today, but not concerned about riots on January 6th.
Exactly. Exactly.
One of the guys said something about a riot here in Burlington. He was talking about they was running around, slashing tires and all these other things. But you know, people never tell the whole story.
Exactly.
They tell the back end of it. But they didn't tell the story of what started that situation, and which it was a riot. And it was when the newly integrated Williams High School did not accept any black cheerleaders. So people were peacefully protesting that at one point. And then there was a curfew and things like that. And then one little boy, 15 years old, was shot by the Burlington Police Department 17 times. I knew his mama, Miss Zenobia Madden. She worked in the Democratic Party and was part of the NAACP. And in her 70s, when she talked about it, she still cried about it. And talked about the bullet wounds that the funeral home had to try to make presentable to present his body. So he talked about people running around flashing tires, but he didn't talk about that. He don't tell that because that's not part of his narrative. Now the people who are concerned about the riot, the one that just got off, was I don't know when he got off, but just when he said that Democrats are special kind of stupid. I just want to point out something. See, people don't like facts. They don't like me to bring up facts. Research is a dirty word. But if he look at that of the state, the top 10, they're going to say less educated, but I'm going to just say dumbest. The top 10 dumbest states are red states.
Exactly.
Red states.
They some dumbass
Mississippi,
niggers.
Alabama, those red states.
They are
The
niggers.
top 10 poorest states, the ones who contribute the less to the federal economy, are red states. So those top 10 blue states that are putting in more into the economy, those top 10 blue states that have the most educated people who are fueling the economy through innovation and technology, must not be that special kind of stupid. Where do you rank, sir, when you call people special kind of stupid? What state do you live in? But he is so concerned about riots. First of all, he said that they're paying to bust these people in.
They
What
self-righteous
evidence
people,
do you
Michael.
have
They are
of
some
that?
self-righteous
I heard one
motherfuckers.
this week said that it was Antifa paid people because Donald Trump said that. And Donald Trump also said when we was having those plane crashes at the first of the year that was causing DEI. But guess what? Everybody that was flying the plane during those situations were white. I ain't heard that anymore. Haven't heard that anymore. That same person that said Democrats were special kind of stupid was so concerned about the Epstein's files where he heard that Bill Clinton was in it. But then when it was said that Donald Trump was in it 41 times, he hadn't said nothing else about it. See, that's the hypocrisy that this country is dealing with. If it's bad because your guy did it, if my guys do it, either I don't talk about it or it's good, or I'm going to make an excuse about it. That is the divide that this country is. But there are facts that people need to be looking at. And we talk about the reason why we're having deportation. I don't have, again, I say for 1,000 times, I don't have a problem with it. Well, before I get to that, let me say when Governor Newsom went into the courts to try to stop Trump from sending in the troops, I'm glad he lost that. Because the President of the United States, regardless of who he is, has the right to send in federal troops or call in the National Guard. And there will be one day Trump won't be in office. There may be one day that we will have, in my opinion, this is my opinion of Donald Trump, he is the biggest threat to this nation that we ever had. We may have that in the governor's office. And we may have normalcy back in the White House one day. I don't want that president to not be able to call in the National Guard on this governor because of a president that said today because it's a president in office that I don't like. That's not how our country is supposed to work. One time, President Johnson was able to call in the National Guard for George Wallace. I don't want that to not be able to change, even though I think what Trump is doing is purely showmanship. I looked at the news last night at 11 o'clock. One of the reports said, I don't want to say anything for about 30 seconds. And he didn't say nothing. He said, what you hear? It was nothing. It was quiet. It was calm. It wasn't this big old riot that he wants to call an insurrection. But yet and still he didn't call January 6th an insurrection. And people were throwing rocks and things like that. Those people should be arrested. The Democrats have said that they shouldn't be arrested. They are hurting the party. They are hurting their country just as much as people who said that January the 6th was not an issue. We have all of this stuff that people are choosing sides and they say they're patriots, but they're truly not patriots. One thing I want to point out that as far as when we talk about deportation, which again I'm all for, I've heard on this station that the number of illegals that was in this country, I've heard 10 million, 20 million, 30. I even heard one time on this station it was 60 million illegals in this country, which I think is absurd, but I heard that one time. Well, let's just take that number. Let's just use that number. It's 60 million illegals in this country. According to the federal government, 1% of the illegals are these criminals that Trump was supposed to be going after. That's 600,000 people. He's got nowhere near that. Stephen Miller went to ICE and berated them and told them that they need to get their numbers up. What we were told is that the bad people were going to be sent out here. We have students being sent out. We have professors. We have all of these other people that's been sent out because they don't have the numbers that they were supposed to have. This was the first month, since we want to talk about numbers, this is the first month that he has overtaken Joe Biden. Last month, he expelled 17,000. If he tries to catch up with Obama, who actually sent out 430,000 illegals every year, he would have to double that number today, which he just got up to Biden. But nobody wants to talk about that. We've been told all Democrats just want all illegals in. Last thing real quick before I get off, because I won't get off that. But we were told also on this station there would be no Medicaid cuts. Josh Hawley just stated the other day, I think it was Tuesday to be exact, you can check off, I want you to check everything that I'm saying, stated Tuesday that what is being put forth in the big, beautiful bill with the Medicaid and Medicare cut is political suicide and ethically wrong. That's what Josh Hawley, a Republican of Missouri, said. And the last quick thing, I heard Jim Jones say the other day that the little black boy who had cancer that Trump actually stand up and the Democrats dumbly did not clap for him because Trump introduced him. I think that was the dumbest thing in the world. But they do dumb things, just like Republicans. But he said that the little boy has cancer again, which he does, and he's in very, very much critical care. Here's the thing about that, though. The funding for children cancer research and funding to pay for medical bills for kids with cancer was cut by Elon Musk.
All right. Appreciate it. Elon Musk didn't cut anything. Elon Musk is not. As Charlie points out all the time, Elon Musk doesn't cut anything. If somebody cut cancer research for children that affected that child, it certainly wasn't Elon Musk. It was the Congress are the ones that have to do that. So if they have cut that, then I'm against that. That's if what Michael just said is true, I'm against it. Just like I'm against all sorts of things that are going on that are wrong. Michael always says that people don't get upset over what happened on January 6th. Yeah, they do. The vast majority of us in this country thought that what happened on January 6th was horrible and have said it over and over again. But because we don't think that they ought to have been put in jail for the rest of their lives, all of a sudden we didn't think that it was any big deal. Now, the question that I would ask you, Michael, I think this, to me, I shouldn't have to ask you this question. You said something that just made me, think. You said they last night you were watching and there was silence. Right. Absolutely. Why do you think there was silence? Do you think that if the National Guard wasn't there or that they hadn't called in the military, that there would have been silence? I don't. I think that's what caused the silence. All of a sudden, there were going to be consequences for this riot in the making.
Me?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm just lovely this morning because I'm still living.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
But some of these people, listen, just like this guy said on television, some of these people need killing. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't get that one. I don't.
No, well, see if you get this one. When God Almighty closed up the sea on Pharaoh's henchmen, do you think that was killing?
Yes.
Do you think when God destroyed America and all the other countries and things for the sin that they were doing, do you think God was killing these people? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
See, you don't know who God is. You see what I'm saying? You think God is a person that gives you things. God is the person that set the angel of death under the door and choked Pharaoh's son to death for the sins he was doing. Now, if I'm lying, then tear the Bible up and throw it away. You understand what I'm saying? See, God's going to punish you for the things that you're doing.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? You can call him do you hear what he tells you? Vengeance is mine.
That's right. Saith the Lord.
He'll do to you what you do to somebody else.
That's right.
That's who God is.
And y'all done us
You
dirty.
understand what I'm saying?
Y'all white people done black people terrible.
The first fear of God Almighty is the first sign of knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? You see, you're not reading the right books. You see, I know who God is.
Me too.
I fear God.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
I don't fear people. I don't fear people at all.
Me neither.
People is wicked. I know who they are.
Evil.
You see, but God owns this world. Not you, not Harry, not nobody, not me. I don't own nothing here. This is God's world. He created this. You ain't created up nothing. You can't create a frog, dog, plant, or nothing else. This is God's world. Regardless of what you say. I don't care. I don't pay no attention to what you say. I don't pay no what Jim says. I don't pay no attention to what nobody says. But God. You see what I'm saying? You people are done going on the outside of God and think you can do things that you can't. Listen.
Why do you think I'm on the outside of God? I'm not.
I'm not. I don't care nothing about what you say. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people that's on the outside.
You just said you were talking about me.
If you're not, I am not talking about you.
Yeah, but you just said you were. You mentioned my name.
So you can't talk to me like you do other people.
I'm trying to talk to you anyway.
What you say, I'm not going to say nothing about Harry.
You just did.
I don't care what you do.
You just did say something about
I'm telling you something about this going on this morning. I went to Walmart. You had 5 or 6 or 7 women in Walmart that weighs over 250 pounds. Tell me about this. What's going on? You got women walking down the street and their legs is rubbing together. They weigh 300 and 400 pounds. And they got rouge and earrings in their nose and things instead of taking care of stuff. Tell me about what is this happening? This ain't nobody but Satan fooling these people into this. You understand what I'm saying? You people. I'm a people. I'm a person. Listen, these people are doing these things, making this rotten food and stuff, and putting these here commercials on television and going on. Some of them that you put on yourself. Listen, and going on to fool these people to eat this filthy food and stuff and going on, and they blowing up like balloons. You understand? Now, if I'm wrong, go look at it yourself, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Me and too, big bellies sticking out somewhere like that and going on, clumsing and fumbling and going on, because you're sitting around eating like dogs and these. You don't cook no more. Your women don't cook no more. So you're mad, and women get mad at me and go, I can't stand me. I can't stand you, big slobby, bobby things. I can't stand you. I wouldn't have you for a woman. You understand what I'm saying? You talk about, oh, I can't stand Mr. Me. I can't stand you big blobs. You understand what I'm saying? Because you people are doing this yourself. It ain't got nothing to do with God. It's your ignorance. You see what I'm saying? You're running up and down the road passing this morning, right and left on Church Street acting a fool and going on with these cars. You ain't got something to drive the car. What you want with a car? You gonna get killed? You're stupid, dumb, and ignorant, and you run around talking about getting an education. Why don't you get an education so you'll quit getting killed at 25 and 30 years old acting a fool? You understand what I'm saying? How come you're not smart like I am? And stay away from crowds and things, and drinking liquor and stuff, and hoorahing, and talking about you trying to be Billy the Kid and all this. You're doing the same thing that people done back 25 or 30,000 years ago. You're ignorant, you're stupid, and you're dumb. You see what I'm saying? Just because you can read a book don't mean that you got sense enough to treat a woman. You understand what I'm saying? You're marrying anything. J-Lo. Such things as this is going on. She doesn't have enough men to start a Tarzan movie. You know what I'm saying? And you praise her and go on like that. You see what I'm saying? All these women and things. Listen, you're talking about P. Diddy. Any woman that lay down with 5 or 6 men and have sex and things because somebody told her to, she's been doing that all the time. In fact, let me tell you something else. I know 5 or 6 right here in Burlington or do the same thing, lay down with 2 men for no money. You understand what I'm saying? Cost ain't nothing but H's. Right. You got Burlington full of them. Right. And going on. So let's talk about all these things that's going on. You understand what I'm saying? saying?
All right.
Let's not talk about all the Mexicans and things and the murderers and rapists and things. You people right here in America been raping and going on way before you've been raping black folks and things. This is the reason I'm here with long black hair and light skin, and I'm considered a Negro. You understand what I'm saying? Because you raped the women and things was cooking for you and going on. You dirty dogs.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, all right, appreciate it. Thank you. 222.
Tell the truth, man. Tell the truth. They some self-righteous dogs. That's all.
You can have all the money in your hands, all the possessions anyone can ever have, but it's all worthless treasure. True worth is only measured not by what you got, but what you got in your heart. You can have everything, but what does it mean? It all means nothing if you don't stand up for something. You can't just talk the talk, you got to walk that walk. Yes, you do. It all means nothing if you don't stand up for something. And I stand up for you. And I stand up for you. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. You do the best that you can do. Then you can look in the mirror, proud of who's looking back at you. Define the life you're living, not by what you take, but what you're giving. And if you bet on love, there's no way you'll ever lose.